Welcome to my podcast, The Lower Down Experience. Many of you will know me from my Instagram page @FabulousPharmacist, where I love to shine a light on topics that people normally shy away from. Today I spoke with Siobhan O Hagan. Siobhan is a personal trainer and online coach. We spoke about living an unconventional life of travel and online work, body positivity and acceptance, diet, nutrition, exercise, and how so many women have a negative attitude towards their own body and food. We spoke about freedom and what it means to be happy. To support the Lower Down Experience, please check out the sponsors in the podcast notes below. Enjoy the show. Siobhan, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. We finally met in person.
Yes.
And you're as tall as I am.
Yes.
Which is always a surprise because you never know how tall someone is.
I know. People are always surprised how tall I am online.
Yes.
It's, I've kind of gotten over people like, oh, you're very big. And I'm like, no.
Big?
Yeah. The old me would have a little complex of that. But yeah, I'm like, yes, I'm tall. But like, all my friends are the same height as me. When I was growing up, I didn't feel tall.
Yeah, no, I was always taller. I was this height at 13 and then I stopped growing. So I was always the tallest in my class up until a point. And then I suppose, but as a woman, as women, we'd be considered tallish. So
yeah. No, I've realised now, like when you're trying to do the dating scene and everything, it's like, no, I won't look at anyone under 6 foot.
It's gas, isn't it? And actually, you just said something there that we will talk about in a little bit more depth. But you said that the old you would have had a problem with being called big.
Yeah.
No, you're not big. You're a beautiful woman. You're athletic looking.
Thank you.
We'll get into all that.
Yeah.
But I suppose the reason why I wanted to ask you on the podcast is because, first of all, we've been talking on and off since, for a couple of years. And I did have you on a live once. And it was the first time when I put up my live, it was the first time I'd ever had to turn off comments on a post because in actual fact, there was a lot of negativity after the live that we did.
Yeah.
I can't really remember what we were talking about. It was kind of about body positivity.
Yeah.
And my idea was to have a really positive live with you about that. And it was, in my estimation, a positive live. But a lot of people have issues with you and the way you live your life. And in my view, you're living your best life, but it's quite an unconventional life. Yeah. Or is it?
Well, it used to be, I think.
Okay.
This time, whatever it was, a year ago, it probably was a little less conventional than it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always shared that message of living the life you want to live. And, because I grew up only seeing social norms of, just getting married, have kids, get a house, good job, all that. I never knew anyone doing anything different. So when I kind of started carving what I thought was my own path, and I think I wanted to share that. I wanted to say to people, like, you can be happy doing other things. And, you don't have to get the degree. You don't have to get married to feel fulfilled. And I wasn't saying that you can't be fulfilled if you do get married and have kids and do that. So I've always shared that. And yeah, I think some people, I've got the majority of my whole time online has been love. I've gotten so much support from so many people. And when sometimes it can sound like or feel like there's a lot of people giving out or giving negativity, it's often a small number of people creating lots of different accounts. And I've learned, and I think I've grown with Instagram. So I was lucky. I was kind of started in 2015 when it was very quiet, and I've grown with it. So I kind of grew with the trolling as it got bigger and bigger, and the work I've always done on myself. And I suppose being really self-aware and everything. I've never really suffered that badly with it. I've gotten the worst of it, but I've always been okay.
Yeah.
And I see it about other people. I've seen people who I think are the most amazing women in the world, and I see them getting trolled. I see people dying of cancer getting trolled. And so it makes me realise that, because there is a thing, am I a terrible person when people are telling you you're a terrible person?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And isn't it also, don't we forget about all the good comments? You could have 100 amazing comments and then one negative, and everyone feels that little punch in the stomach. I do as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah. And sometimes you feel like you have to justify yourself. They might make a comment. Something like, it could be a genuine criticism, which I've kind of learned to see the difference between someone just being passive aggressive or someone who's looking for something to give out about. And that's what I've learned, that everything I post, people will try and find something wrong with it. And I've kind of gotten over that as well. And just post it, I'm very fond of the block button, but I meet so many people when I'm out and about that tell me they love what I'm doing, and because of them they started yoga, or because of me I started yoga, or because of me they've done something. And it makes me realize that any of the trolling is fine because
Well, people don't
there's
have
way
to
more
follow you
positives.
if they don't want to either.
Yeah,
You know,
but that's the message they're not getting.
Yeah,
you know,
I
I'm
know.
like, sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to block you for your own sake because
Yeah.
I'm clearly making you very angry. And
Yeah.
there's no point in living your life like that.
Yeah. And I think the main comments that I was getting before I switched them off was, you know, you're portraying a lifestyle where you're eating Dominoes and drinking loads and then you go and work out the next day. And people had a problem with the fact that maybe young girls were looking at that message and it's not a very healthy lifestyle. So what?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been, I mean, if anything, my message was that like, you don't, I'm against dieting hard, right? So like, I don't believe in restricting yourself in terms of health, in terms of your social life, in terms of life experiences to change the shape of your body. So yeah, I mean, the majority of what I have is, you know, what, quote unquote healthy food, you know, nutrient dense food. I like to show that if I'm having a Domino's that, you know, I mean, if anything, I like to show that you can be in good shape and have a Domino's. You can, I put up a video recently. It was, you know, if you have pizza last night, think of it as that you're having fuel for training today, not that you're burning off, you know, like I don't like that idea. I want people to see food as fuel, you know, to energize their body, to be able to lift heavier, go further. You know, I think training should be about getting fitter and stronger, and then you can manipulate your body composition using nutrition, but I don't think it's worth going to any extremes to change your body composition.
Well, interestingly enough, because the girls that I was working with at the time, and I said, God, there was loads of people complaining about that because the lady I was chatting to eats loads of pizza and drinks and shows it and then goes and trains the next day. And they were like, yeah, but sure, that's what we do. Like we just go mad the weekend and then we, you know, try and compensate for it during the week. So is it a case of, you know, your message would be it's okay to do that and then compensate for it during the week?
No,
or is
no,
it?
No, definitely not. I wouldn't be like, training is not, my training and my food are two different things.
Okay.
Like my training is like I do Jiu Jitsu, I do Muay Thai, I do CrossFit, you know, I do anything. And that's about getting fitter and stronger. I don't restrict myself because of what I had or what I've done, or I don't train to undo food. I eat enough to be in a very, very slight calorie deficit, but I try and maximize that to fuel my training.
Okay.
And that sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go into surplus. I'm really easygoing. Like it depends on my lifestyle. Like I genuinely like, you know, high protein, fibrous meals. Like I'm a very health focused now as opposed to I used to be. So, you know, I wouldn't want to eat pizza all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a once a week thing, if that.
Okay.
And it's not in the kind of like cheat meal focus or anything like that. It's just, maybe it is on a Saturday night with friends, or maybe it's, I don't know, I just don't really think about it that much.
And you're enjoying it. It's not about like, oh, I'm going to cheat. This is a cheat meal and I have to make up for the next day.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like it used to be. I mean, I've changed a lot in the last few years.
Yeah. And it's been, so when did that kind of change start, that evolution? Because you used to do bodybuilding, bikini modeling and that as well.
I did one bikini competition.
Okay. So what was that like? Because you were very skinny back then.
Yeah, I was tiny, and that was the goal. Like I just needed something to focus on. Like I've realized now, again, even more recently, that I need to feel like I'm working on something, that I'm progressing towards something to kind of feel fulfilled. And I got to a point back in 2016 where I had, you know, quit my job in the corporate world and I'd changed my body. I'd grown my Instagram. And I was kind of like, what's next? And just with the environment I was in, then what's next seemed to be bodybuilding. And I always said I wouldn't do it unless I could do it healthily, if that's even possible. But I think I did it as healthily as possible with a good coach and cruised in. Like I enjoyed the process of being, you know, disciplined and having something to work on every day. I knew it wasn't sustainable. Like I wasn't doing it to get to the shape. It was a competition. You know, It's like putting yourself through marathon training. It's like, you're not going to do that every day. You know, it's bad for your body.
Okay.
But you're going to do it because you're doing it for the sport. And that's what I knew. And I did, I cruised in, did really well, came second, and I ended up, but then afterwards I really, really struggled with body image.
Okay. Did your period stop during that time?
It stopped for about a month before, which is actually maybe 2 months, sorry. But yeah, which is very, I suppose it's the best case scenario in that. Like most people doing it would be gone for years, I'd say.
Which isn't healthy.
No. And of course, yeah, so it was gone for 2 months and I came back about 2 months later. About that. But yeah, I mean, wasn't even thinking about that at the time. I was just like really struggling with my body image. which it's like my head was like in two different places. Like one part of me was like, you are tiny, you don't want to be this small. You know, I remember getting the smaller jeans and I was like, I don't want to wear this size. I didn't want to be an 8, you know, like I was happy as a 10. But yet when I was putting the 10s back on, I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
So it was so strange in my head because I was able to like identify it, but still I struggled. And I was like binge eating. So I was being very, very restrictive during the week and then binge eating whenever it happened. And I would try and compensate. And then, you know, I'm a numbers person as well. So like, I'd be like, well, if I just had 5,000 calories yesterday, then I have to reduce to stay, you know, like it was simple maths to me, but I didn't realize like I was fighting against my hormones, against my health, against so much. And I slowly gained weight. And I had to step away from competing and I was like went traveling and stopped caring about what I looked like. And it was a long journey, but a lot of like journaling, self-awareness, you know, looking at my values, looking at what's important in life. And it took a lot of work. But now, yeah, I look back and I don't regret doing it, but it helped me understand a lot about women in different phases of dieting and body image. And, you know, I've learned a lot from it, but I just think I just want to help women get away from that and get away from, and just have this kind of freedom that I have now in terms of body image and nutrition.
Yeah, because a lot of women are stuck in that cycle of lose weight, gain it back, lose weight, gain it back. And I think the problem that we have in today's society is that there's, you know, this ideal body shape, or, you know, for 10 years it was Kim Kardashian's big arse, and now actually Kim Kardashian's quite skinny. And you know, everyone wants to be skinny now. And I just think that, you know, those messages for women, and I suppose men to a certain extent now, with the way body image is changing on Instagram, has an effect on that too, has had an effect on that too. So what helped you? I know you say journaling, but did you use any kind of a tool? Did you go and see someone, or was it just yourself?
No,
you worked on yourself?
It was just myself, really. You know, like you said, I've got a lot of women who come to me. I see it now. You know, a lot of women who are trying to lose weight, and realistically, they don't need to. But I mean, that's obviously really subjective. But what I always say is like working with your body and not against it. And I think that's what I was doing. I was working against my body, but when I started working with it, and like, okay, what? You know, treating my body with respect rather than hate. And yeah, I started like eating to train, you know, I started doing CrossFit. So then I was like, right, I want to be well fueled for this.
So what's CrossFit? Can you just tell me what that is?
So it's like weightlifting and they say functional fitness. So it's a bit of everything. Like they look at mobility, agility, strength, fitness. Can't think of anything else. I don't really do it anymore. But yeah, it was something like I was always strong because I always just wanted to build muscle to look good. But then I went to try CrossFit and was like, wait, I can't do a burpee. Or like they were like, yeah, try deadlift that and then run a lap. And I realized I was actually so unfit.
Yeah.
So I then was like, wait, I want to get good at this. So then I was eating because I was like, right, I want to be ready to train today because I want to, you know, win this competition today. And you know, fueling my body correctly afterwards, not like trying to eat as little as possible every day. And of course, when you eat more and you train harder, you know, I was able to build more muscle, get fitter. I was burning more calories. I actually ended up in better shape when I stopped caring so much.
Okay.
But that's obviously subjective as well. But I think so many women think they need to change their body when what they really need to do is change their mind.
Yeah.
You know, I have women who come to me, they're desperate to change their body. And it's funny because they'd be so much smaller than me, and you know, they sometimes even use me as an example. I'm like, you know, I'm bigger than you and you're trying to get smaller. And they're like, no, but I want to, it's like, it's honestly, it takes work. It's mindset work. That I think is the most important. And for me, it was, you know, writing my journal every day about what's important to me. And it's because before that I was obsessed with training and what I looked like and how I was going to plan my food around my day. And when I started focusing on like spending time with my family, you know, what's important to me, I'd be doing different things, life experiences, going traveling, and realizing that, you know, my body was I was just letting my body do whatever it was in terms, or like just whatever shape it ended up. I was just practicing acceptance, and meeting lots of new people helped as well while traveling.
Now, the traveling took part before or after COVID?
Before.
Before COVID.
2017, I went first off to Thailand. And that really kind of changed my perspective. Like it was about 6 months after I did the bikini show, and I met lots of new people who just met me as I was, you know, people that I wasn't embarrassed to meet because I'd put on loads of weight.
Oh my goodness, even that you say that, isn't that mad that you would have thought that you would have been embarrassed to meet someone that you'd met
I got
before.
so much praise, especially online, for losing so much weight that I felt like a failure for putting it back on.
Okay, so you were, when you first went online, you were your normal size, or?
I know, I originally, so I 2014, I set up the Instagram and I started dieting and lifting weights, and I kind of gathered a following because I was just doing weights and like still, you know, and tracking my calories. So I was still having all these nice things. And this is at a time when people thought dieting meant like no bread, or that you had to do lots of cardio. And I had like abs, and people were like, how much cardio and abs are you doing? And I was like, none, just deadlifts, and you know.
Okay.
So that's what I kind of grew a following like that. My body was quickly changing. And then I did the show. And then I went traveling in 2017. What was your question again?
My question was, when you went traveling, was it before or after COVID? But you had mentioned then, when we kind of took you had mentioned that when you lost loads of weight, you gained loads of followers, and you were getting lots of love online for losing weight. And that was kind of maybe what spurred you to,
I mean, it was a set, like I used to go training and I would see results every day, and, you know, I was getting praise online, putting up pictures. And then I was going the opposite. Like I felt like I was pissing in the wind going to train, and I was getting fatter. And it was a sad way to be, but realistically I was getting stronger as well. But like my body composition, I needed to put on that weight. So I needed to do it, but I was just bored. I wasn't motivated with my training. So then I went to Thailand, found CrossFit, and just like a new, motivation was fired up. And and then I started doing kickboxing as well.
You're doing all kinds of things now. You're doing Jiu Jitsu and...
Yeah, Jiu Jitsu now is my current passion.
So you seem like a kind of type of person then, and maybe I'm wrong, but you'll find something and you just want to become the best at it or something. Is it that way? Or you just get really into it? Is it like
my whole thing in life was for a long time, like in my journal and everything, it's like, am I happy? Yes. No, if not, what do I need to change? Even with CrossFit, I never got properly competitive at it, or in anything. Like Muay Thai, I was only just training. Like I've never fought. Jiu Jitsu, just tipping away. Just got my blue belt, which is great. Like, but it's not a competitive way. I'm not that driven, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm very much like, I'm not an extremist, I don't think. So I try and kind of sit in the middle now.
Okay.
With anything, with food, with drink, like I like going out, but I wouldn't do it every day. I don't know. I feel like I sit in the middle. I think that's the way to go. Like just for your own, with everything, like for my own head.
But Jiu-Jitsu has given you a lot, has it, since you started that? How long have you been doing it for?
About a year and a half now.
Okay.
On and off as well. That's the thing. Like traveling a lot was not ideal, because it's something like you want to be doing consistently, because you're like learning. It's like learning a language. It's like you need to kind of keep practicing it to learn it.
Okay.
And
you have to be really strong to do it.
No, that's the thing. A lot of it is based on like a small women can be very powerful.
Okay.
Because a lot of it's like almost like physics. Like get a good lever and a fulcrum, and you can be break someone's arm really easy. Now they don't do that in training. Like you tap out, and that's what I liked about it, was that, you can't actually. You don't. It's very sorry. You can get hurt, but it's a lot more difficult to get hurt than if you were doing like kickboxing sparring, because there you have to go full steam. You're going to get hit a lot. Yeah. But in jiu-jitsu, as soon as you get someone into like a choke or an arm bar or anything, they just tap and you finish. And so you don't finish it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And you've made a couple of references to maths and then physics there. Can we talk a little bit about your childhood? Because I know you actually...
No, I feel like they should take a degree off if you haven't used it in 10 years.
What might surprise people is that Siobhan is a mathematician. You aren't you? You did a maths degree.
I mean, I don't know what you have to do to earn that title, but I don't think I've earned it. I did like maths in school and physics. I didn't actually like physics. I just not accidentally, but I got an A1 in Leaving Cert. I honestly was like, what? But I had chosen maths for my degree, financial and actuarial mathematics, mainly because someone told me actuary was one of the highest paid jobs in Ireland.
Oh, so yeah.
I was like, grand, I want to be rich.
I remember being told that.
Everyone's like, archery. And I was like, no, actuary, they calculate death.
I know, yeah, but it's like a really tough course to do, isn't
so then
it?
I went into, like, and the thing is, like, for the Leaving Cert, I studied hard. Like, I was I was just an early riser. So I used to get up in the morning in school or study before school. So when the Leaving Cert came around, just did well. Can't remember. Oh yeah, 515 points. I always say like they made it easier since then. Like, my little brother did better and all. I'm like, they've been making it easier every year.
Yeah.
But then I went to DCU, and do you know what the problem is? I went to DCU and had the time of my life.
Okay.
So scraped through.
Okay.
Like it was so hard. Like I was like maths for Leaving Cert is nothing like maths at higher
in college.
level.
Yeah, I know.
And especially when you don't really study. But I really enjoyed the time in DCU, and that's probably what kept me through it. But we did a work placement. And I did, when I went into the work placement, there was people, say 2 years ahead of me, who had done my degree, and they were doing their professional exams. So the professional actuarial exams, and they were studying so hard, and then they all failed the first one. And I was like, oh my God, if they couldn't do the first one, there's no way I'll be able to do it. So, and I don't know, I didn't really want to. I had more interest in computers and stuff. So I went back in final year and chose all my modules away from actuary, more into, I can't even remember, but there was some more computers and linear algebra. And, but then, I left kind of like not really knowing then what I was going to do. And I spent some time in Portugal working for my auntie, and I was just a bit lost. And then luckily the company where I did my work placement offered me a job. So I went back there, got my real job, thought that was it now. I think it was 21, 22. Got the apartment in Barrow Street, and I was like, right, this is it, real life now.
Yeah.
And then about a year and a half later, had a midlife crisis, quarter life crisis. And I just remember sitting at that desk, and like the job was good. Like it was a simple enough process, and they paid well, they looked after us, but I didn't see any progression. It was kind of the owners and us.
What kind of a job was it?
It was like testing software for pension administration and implementing it.
Okay.
Yeah,
exciting.
Riveting. It was fine. But I just didn't really see any progression. And I was kind of like, I was like, is this it for the next 40 years sitting at this desk? So then I was talking to my friend in recruitment, and she convinced me to do recruitment. And I kind of saw that as being a bit more glamorous, a bit more social. Because at the same time, I was like working as the head hostess in the Penthouse in the right venue. Like being like glam at the weekend. So I was like financial software consultant by day. And then,
Vixen at night time.
Straight into the heels on a Friday evening. And so I just wanted something a bit more social. So I did recruitment for a while, but I did it for a year, but I just wasn't salesy enough especially with the manager I was working with. Like he had kind of a different work ethic, and I was really like building relationships, and it was okay, but I just was miserable. I was just like, I didn't know what else to do then. Like I actually was like, this is a waste of a degree. I don't know what I can use it for.
Yeah.
And I went in and asked, I remember the HR lady in the recruitment company, I was like, do you think you could pay for me to do a master's in software engineering? And they were like, no. I was like really upset. And I remember I was crying in that office, and she was like, what do you actually want to do? And I was like, stay in the gym all day. And she's like, why don't you be a PT? And I was like, I have a degree in maths.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I don't know. I just didn't think it was a viable career. But you know what? I was that upset, and I was like, maybe I'll try it. And but I couldn't do it with the hours I was working. And I ended up going back to the software company with my tail between my legs, because I told them I was going off to join this big fancy corporation. But they were very good. They gave me a temp role and said I could stay as long as I want. I kind of thought I would just stay forever. I kind of was like, but I was like, I'll give this PT thing a go on the side. And started my Instagram then November 2014. Because I thought, I had my own Instagram. And then I said I'd start a separate one, because I didn't think anyone would have any interest in fitness, or, real cringy putting up fitness posts on your own page. And I started OHfitness_IE. I didn't even have that website. I don't know why I did that. And it blew up. Like I started sharing my journey, started feeling like I was working on something, was doing like working all day and then doing college at nighttime, training at 5 a.m. every day. Like just felt like I was doing something with my life then.
Yeah.
And then by the time I had like 10,000 followers by June, loads of people wanted me to train them, and I was just taking emails. I was like, no, I'm not qualified yet. Like just wait until I'm qualified. And then the software company were like, we actually kind of need that desk. We need to take on someone permanently, and we don't think you're going to stay. And I was like, no. So then that was it. I was like, I wasn't pushed out, but I'm glad I was, because I know a lot of people that do a PT course and have a full-time job. It's very hard to make that gap, but I kind of had to go.
Yeah.
So then I was doing PT full-time, and loving life. That's my whole history.
And that's how it kind of evolved. Isn't it interesting though how our lives have now changed and we can pivot out of our roles and become something totally different with the advent of the smartphone. Like really, isn't it so interesting?
It changed my life. Yeah. I mean, the internet, and it's something I was always kind of aware. It's not something I was aiming for. Like I didn't think I need loads of Instagram followers. It was just like, I'm going to use Instagram to market my business. Because I had heard about this online coaching and like I felt like nobody was doing it. And I was like, that would be handy, to do it online. And I remember even the guys I was doing my PT course with, they were getting their business cards printed. And I was like, Instagram. And he's like, nah, I'll stick with the tried and tested. And, obviously then it just blew up.
So your business is mainly online coaching, is it?
Yeah. So I went fully online in 2017.
Okay.
Now only just recently I've started seeing people in a gym in London again, which I really miss. So I couldn't do that. So 2017 I started traveling, but I couldn't come and go when you have PT clients. Obviously you need to be consistent. So I kind of had to make the decision, and it was based off like I was very clear on my values then. Like I knew my top values were freedom and happiness. And I made all my decisions in life based off that then.
Oh my God, I'd love to have a bit of freedom.
I had it for a long time. It's overrated. No, it's great. It's great. But that's the kind of decisions I made decisions based off that. So even when I knew I was have to give up a lot of money by leaving the gym, I was like, no, but I value my freedom more. So I was able to make that decision and went fully online. And then I had space then to grow it as well. So I went fully online in 2017, was kind of floating around, kept going to Thailand and back into my apartment in Dublin. And I was like, why do I have this apartment? Like I'd spent weeks living out of a suitcase and come back home to like a 2-bed apartment full of stuff. I was only renting it, but then I was like, it doesn't make sense to have this if I want to keep traveling. So just after my 30th birthday, I just got rid of the lease, put everything into 2 suitcases, and off I went to Thailand on a one-way ticket. And
when was that?
That was 2018.
Okay.
So quick maths, I'm 34 now.
I was like doing it in my head.
And I didn't really have a plan. I went to Bali a week or 2, I think, after that, and found Bali and was like, this is perfect. This is the lifestyle I need. And pretty much stayed there on and off then for nearly 4 years.
And you're just back from there now as well. I left in recent months.
Left the end of April in a bit of another midlife crisis.
Okay, so tell me about this current midlife crisis.
Yeah, I know. Am I midlife yet?
You're actually not. I'm midlife, you cow.
I don't know. I was just again, I was like leading myself with, my questions every day, am I happy? And I really was. And there was something niggling at me now. And then when I look back, I realized that everything, it's going to sound silly, but like everything was going very well and I wasn't being challenged enough. So like you have a great life. You wake up, you've cycled down to the beach for sunset. You're doing your yoga in amazing settings. You're training with the best people. You're eating amazing food, hanging out with cool people all day, sitting at the pool in the sunshine. And, I was kind of like, why is there something niggling? And I actually watched a video by a guy I follow online, and he was talking about how the laptop lifestyle is unsustainable. Unsustainable, is that the word? And when I watched it, I actually had an existential crisis. I was like, what is the meaning of life? What am I doing with myself?
What did he mean by the laptop lifestyle is unsustainable?
He's just saying like, being on holidays, being on like a permanent holiday is like eating fast food all the time. It's kind of like you need that little bit of suffering in your life. And like, I'll send you the link.
You just need a few kids, Siobhan. That's all you need. That'll bring you right back to reality.
I just made me realize like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know. I kind of had to go for a walk by myself and just like, I need to think about this. And I was on the beach and I was just like looking at, this happy couple and their kid. And I was like, is that what I'm missing? It's something I've always been like, I don't need a relationship. I'm really happy.
Yeah.
But it's always something I've avoided because of the freedom and happiness values. It's been like, well, there's no point in seeing anyone because I'm going to be here for 4 weeks and I'm gone. So it's always something I haven't pursued.
So have you pushed relationships away then?
Yeah, all the men coming for me. I just had to say no to. Sorry, lads.
Have you seen that? Have you seen? There's some funny skit I saw on TikTok and it's on Instagram now as well, where there's a guy and he's standing outside his house and he's just kind of looking. He's like, me waiting for all the girls that my mum said were going to be beating the door down. I just got that vision there.
My mum said that to me today, or the other day. She was like, God, and you're very good looking. I was like, thanks. It's not like, I think she's like, how are you still single? I'm like, because it's just the lifestyle I had.
Yeah.
And even like the type of people are in Bali as well. It's so transient, as well. So I think.
So everyone's kind of moving on.
Yeah.
Not
that I was really looking at, you always feel minging over there as well. That's the other thing.
Why?
I mean, you can't have your lovely hair. You're like sweating all the time.
Okay.
Like, anyway.
The extensions get.
Yeah. Like on top of my head.
Okay.
Or else we're in the helmet. But yeah, no, it's something I was thinking about. And that weekend in particular, I was like, what? What I had thought then was like, what if the values we hold are actually preventing us from finding the meaning of life? So for example, like say someone else has their values are like security and family and I don't know. So, say they, have their house and their family and but there might be that itch that they're like, what if I didn't, what if I had that freedom or blah, blah. And then there's me, say like who had that freedom and happiness and I'm like, but what if I'm missing that relationship? Maybe that's the meaning of life. Maybe having a child is the meaning of life, but like I'm missing out on that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but what is, no one will ever know the correct way to live. So I think.
Because is the grass always greener in some respects, as in we're always seeking something else? But
then I'm like, well, what if I've done that now? What if, I've completed the freedom part? Maybe, and I'm very close to my family as well. Like, my values are like family. And then I'm like, I'm missing so much being the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it came to me, I actually was doing breath work one day and I don't know if you've ever done breath work, but it's kind of like you're almost hallucinating. I would say it's like talking to your subconscious where you're kind of just in a real like dream state. And I came out of it, I was like, I'm going to move to London. Because I loved London. I did like 3 months in London last year. And one of the big things that stopped me was the cost of short-term rental. So I had this idea. I was like, oh yeah, if I just move to London. And I had it all in my head really fast. I was like, I'll just get a good coat, a good pair of boots. I'll survive the winter.
A hat, gloves.
Yeah. And it was all really sudden. Like I was planning on leaving Bali that week anyway to go home for the summer. But I just kind of decided, I was like, I think I'm done. And like I found it really hard to even tell anyone there. I was like, yeah, I'll be back in August. But in my head, I was like,
gone.
I think I'm done. And I think it's just
because I remember
like
seeing some
older.
of your posts and I was like, oh, right.
Yeah, I know. People are still like, when you go back to Bali? I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, I won't be back.
Yeah.
I mean, I will visit at some stage, but I think putting down roots then in the last 6 months has felt really good. Like I have a couch now, so I can't just leave.
And this is in London, you feel you put down your roots? Yeah. So did you know people there prior to going?
I have a few friends in London. Like one of my best friends lives there, a lot of really good friends. So easy slotting in there. I did the Jiu Jitsu in Roger Gracie's, which is like one of the best gyms. So I was kind of like, oh God, I can't wait to go and be in one place and just be consistent with my training. That was another reason to go to London. And just like, yeah, life's good. Like we do glamorize the island life, but there's a lot of like convenience in London and in Dublin as well.
Yeah.
And just being able to pop home, like 2 weeks ago, I had no plans the weekend and I was like, I'm just going to go home and I saw my granny and my family and, it's just really nice, especially at Christmas time. I kind of worried how I'd cope in the winter because the summer in London was stunning. Like it was really hot. It was great. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the seasons. Like I'm kind of enjoying like the slow down, like being cozy, wearing my nice boots and like, yeah, excited for the summer as well.
And your job, because you're online, is just so easily transferable.
Yeah. Well, like my company's in Ireland, so like, and I can kind of be anywhere. Then, yeah. So, and
financially wise, is it a stable living that you're living? Yeah.
I mean, obviously London's a lot more expensive. Yeah. But and you know what? And that's what. So moving to London has given me a better work ethic. Okay. It's kind of pushed me a lot more. It's like, okay, you can't be complacent when you're living in London. Yeah, so I've found, and also because then I don't have friends asking you to go to the pool every afternoon as well. It's a little bit more like I have to actually. You literally
were living like a holiday.
Yeah, and it's great. Like it is great. No, everyone, and of course, a lot of people I meet in London. I'm like, I just moved here. They're like, from where? I'm like, Bali. And they're like, what?
Oh, yeah.
I know, sounds mad, but it really was. I mean, I just think I had an amazing couple of years there, and I just think just growing up a little bit, and I'm just kind of obviously just feeling like I want to settle down.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, in fact, what you're saying is your values can change from, year to year or as we grow older as well. Yeah. And it makes sense that you don't necessarily want to stay in Bali for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Although, you know, to me that sounds amazing.
yeah, exactly.
But I can understand why, you know, sometimes they go into the pool every day. Is it kind of like, you know, what's next?
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You're in like the best beach clubs in the world every day. You're in, sorry, and this sounds like a complaint. It's amazing. But I think that was the point that Gaz made in that video. It's like that you kind of need something to work towards, or I don't know. I kind of enjoy, like if I find myself getting, you know, on the tube at 6 a.m. to go into the gym, and I don't know, I'm not complaining. Like I'm kind of like, I'm doing this because, you know, I think it's that little struggle that I needed to feel like I'm doing something with my life. Yeah. And
what do you tell your clients? Like I come to you, say, and I'm like, I just, you know, make me fit, Siobhan. How do you approach your clients? And, you know, how many do you have in a day? Like what does your work look like?
So my main income is the furnace, and that's all online. So that's a 12-week program, and the videos are all pre-recorded. So it's more, I see it as like an education thing. Like I just want women to leave it knowing that they don't need a PT after that they leave it not thinking that they have to keep signing up, or, I mean, it's not a great business model. And people be like, you just get people on subscription. And I'm like, no, I just want to educate, like, and they go out and spread the word. So it's a 12-week, as I said, videos. Then they fill in a questionnaire, and I'll based off that, I will tell them which workouts to do. Then they do like a weekly tracker. They check in. I have 4 coaches working for me, so we all do the check-ins, and you know, give them weekly feed. And there's the check-ins are sometimes quite boring, because it's like, it is that easy, and it isn't that complicated, and you just have to keep going. Like it's consistency we need. Not my clients are sick of hearing me saying consistency over perfection. So it's pretty like it's low cost as well. That's what I like. I want to keep it low cost so that I can help a lot of people.
Okay.
And then
is that more admin for you then, though, or?
I mean, I you know, because I've always had those values of freedom and happiness over making money, I always was like outsourcing and refining things, like putting money into that as much as possible.
Okay.
So no, I mean, it's very well run, doesn't require that much work from me at all.
Okay.
So, but that's the thing, I was kind of like, now I want to be doing something. So, so I'm doing the one-to-one personal training then, which I'm really enjoying being back, like hands-on.
Okay.
Only a couple of people in London, because I was trying to like ease myself back in. I didn't want to like do too much, but yeah, really enjoying it. I think I have a really good like work-life balance, because then I give myself time to like learn. I'm doing yoga teacher training, just did breathwork.
What type of yoga?
I don't know, just 200 yoga teacher training, 200 hour.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's not, okay. Because I used to do Ashtanga yoga. Like I was mad for it.
Yeah.
But in recent years, actually, interesting enough, so I don't have an awful lot of time, you know, to do. I love exercise, always have, and it makes me not be a cow, basically. It's for my mental health more than anything, although obviously it's very good for your physical health. So I used to love Ashtanga yoga, and I think maybe when I was younger, so I'm 42 now, right? So I used to be able to wake up in the morning at 6 and do like an hour and 15, a full primary series before even the babies woke up and that.
Yeah.
The babies are now older children, but now I'm too old. I'm too old to get up in the morning and at 6 and do that, because I feel I can get up in the morning and go to the gym and do like a boot camp, or I could go for a run. But Ashtanga yoga requires you to be a little bit limber, I suppose. And I feel I'm a little bit more stiff in the morning, but also my mind is a very busy mind. So I find I can't properly chill out with yoga anymore. So I've kind of put it to one side and I miss it. And then when I talk to people like you who do yoga regularly, I'm like, oh God, I really should get back into it. And I just don't know how to fit it into my life.
Well, I use an app called Down Dog, and I discovered it like, not an ad. I discovered it in March 2020. I just started in the pandemic. It's something like yoga. I always thought was something I wanted to do, but I kept doing like a big long class and it was taking up too much of my time. So, you know, it's one of those things you'd finish it and be like, oh, I must keep that up. And
yeah, that's what happens to me.
But this app I found, and it's completely customizable. So if I have 15 minutes in the morning, I'll do a 12-minute flow with 3 minutes Shavasana. Like you can change it to anything, and you can change the level, you can change the focus, you can change it all. It's so handy. So that's what made, because so then I start with 5 minutes, because I would never be able to commit to a half an hour every morning because I didn't like it. I was really inflexible. I found it really uncomfortable. So then I just wanted to build a new habit. So I just had it like as soon as I finished reading my book in the morning, rolled out the mat, did 5 minutes. And then just each week I just changed the app to like 6 minutes, 7 minutes. And then by like, I don't know, the height of the pandemic, I was doing like 45 minutes every morning, and feeling the benefits. And like, so then I was raving about it because I was like, I was that person who didn't like yoga.
Okay.
Or, you know, like I still talk to people now. They're like, oh, I should do it. I'm really inflexible. And I'm like, that's why you should do it.
Okay. So maybe just to do something like that to get myself back into it. It's more that, yeah, maybe I should just do it and not, because they talk about attachment and they talk about a lot of attachment in yoga. I don't know if you've got to that level in your training yet. So they talk about attachment, and we're always attached. So we're like looking at the other person doing yoga, that they're more flexible than we are or whatever. Or we want to finish the entire primary series, and maybe we should just be happy with a few sun salutations. So maybe I actually need to take that learning back on board and just start it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
something's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I find that you go through fits and spasms, don't you? Like, so sometimes I love I actually rejected going to classes for ages, years. Didn't like going to, first thing in the morning being screamed at with pumping music. Yeah. But now it actually quite suits me, because I just feel I just need to get that half an hour in, and then I'm done for the day. So I suppose it's ever evolving, isn't it? You don't necessarily have to stay with the same thing.
Yeah,
the whole
and
time.
I go with it. Like there was phases where I was doing 45 minutes, and there was phases where I just do 5, 10, because I know that if I do something, like sometimes but I'm all about habit stacking. So like if I don't roll out the mat, like if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it'll definitely never be done. Like it's like I'm really motivated first thing in the morning, and then slob in the afternoon. Like I just have to do. If I don't do it straight after my books, it just won't be done. So that was my thing. Even if I do 5 minutes, at least it's more of a mental tick then. It probably doesn't do much for my body or my mind, but it's that like I did it, and like I don't want to break that streak. And
I'm very much, if I don't do it in the morning, I'm just too old and tired to do it when the afternoon comes.
I mean, just life happens then. That's why I try and control as much as I can early in the day, so then I have the kind of freedom to do what I want later in the day. Okay, fair enough. And you were talking about your books. Are you an avid reader? Yeah, I love learning about new things. So I read like random stuff. I used to be a lot of psychology and self-help. But then, by the time you get through them all, you realise they're all just kind of repeating each other a bit. More recently, I don't know, I've just kind of reading random topics. Like I just reading a book on Putin there, reading a book on the powers of geography, very good one. Just like learning. Oh, I loved geography as a child. Well, there's two books. There's one called The Prisoners of Geography, and then another one called The Power of Geography. Very interesting. Just looking at all around the world, looking at why different countries have different economies and everything. And very interesting books. Yeah, and then I'm going and picking up the paper now, which I always thought the paper was like just doom and gloom or whatever, but I'm really just becoming more interested in what's going on. Again, I think I'm just getting old. I think you are. Sitting there on a Sunday with my paper, but like, who knew this was fun? Class taking screen grab of the Sunday Business Post. Yeah. So I like to read. But again, I'm not really motivated to read. So I just do 15 minutes of 2 books every morning. Like I wake up, have coffee, journal, read 2 books, literally put a timer on my watch, 15 minutes. So what time do you wake up at? I wake up naturally anytime between 5 and 6, always. So and do you go to bed early then? I have to, because even if I go to bed late, I'll still wake up. Okay. So I try go to bed like 9:30, 10 at the latest. And I know, because people always ask me like, any tips for waking up? And my mom always says that like as soon as I was out of nappies, I just would not sleep in the mornings. Okay. I had an alarm clock I used to have to look at, that I wasn't allowed to leave the room until it ticked over to 7. Oh, you're one of those kids. Yeah, I had to. And then she had it all set up. Then I went down, pressed play, Sesame Street came on. But yeah, I never. So I've always had an early mornings. That's why I used to study before school. But like once, like in the evening, I can do nothing. Okay. If you even try to call me in the evening, I'd be like, I'm too tired. Like I just can't. So I try and squeeze in as much. I know that's my productive time. But also it's no distractions as well. So I know it's a good time to journal, a good time to read, a good time to do yoga before anyone gets up, depending where I am. It's kind of like they're kind of the staples I can bring me no matter where I am in the world. Like my yoga, my reading, my journaling. And then I try and get some exercise as well. I mean, I know yoga is exercise, but it's normally like a walk while I do my messages, or try and get some fresh air, depending where I am. Okay. And do you ever see yourself moving back to Dublin? I don't know. I mean, I always say never. Like, again, change my mind with everything. I'm loving London at the moment. But I don't know. Depends on my family and where my life goes. Yeah. You're kind of like a free spirit. Yeah. I've talking about 5-year plans. Like, I haven't got a 2-year plan. 2-year plan. Don't have it. Just going with the flow. And what in general brings you happiness in your life? Like what would you say is the thing that
that
I think it's just, I think freedom is a big one. Like, I'm just thinking, like, I like eating nice food in good company, ideally my family. I like bringing my family away. Like, what makes me happy? Training, like being physically active, I think is really, I mean, I enjoy Jiu Jitsu. I don't know, I like everything that I'm doing. Like, I'm just really happy at the moment. So I'm like, that's...
And your views with the yoga training, do you think that you will become, like, do you look to become an online yoga teacher with that then?
I don't really know. It's something, it's so funny. It's like there's yoga teacher training going on every week in Bali, and then I leave, go back to London and sign up to it. But it's something I feel like has made, I think it's just about chasing, you know, my passions while I can. Like, while the business is going well, I'm like, oh, if I have time to do yoga teacher training, I don't know where it'll lead me, but I know I'm really passionate about it, and I'm really passionate about other people getting into it. So like, why not have that qualification under my belt? I don't have a plan at all.
It's nice though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's nice and kind of refreshing that, you know, it's really like not the stereotypical kind of lifestyle that, you know,
I mean, I feel like I'm becoming more stereotypical now that I'm like
in London and doing
like
all
just
that
having
now.
proper stuff. But I think being flexible is important, because you really don't know what life's going to throw at you. So I think just being adaptable is important.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And then in terms of, you know, do you see your business progressing in any other way other than the furnace?
I don't know.
Can that keep you going?
I sat down with Corey, who works alongside me, and we were like trying to figure out what to change. You know, we feel like, you know, we need to keep going or up our game or improve it. And we're kind of looking at the feedback and everyone's giving us, and we're like, it's pretty great over the way it is. Like, there's some little, you know, functional things I'd like to change, but in terms of our ethos and what we're doing, I think it is really going really well. So I just want to keep, if anything, it's just about marketing it more. It's like getting it out more to more people. Yeah. Because I know, I mean, I always say in an ideal world, they wouldn't need us anymore, that people wouldn't be tied up in diet culture, that you know, people wouldn't need to learn or to unlearn, you know, all these crazy things we've been taught over the years.
And is that what you're doing within that? Are you trying to, so is it about body, or is it about gym work and then also nutrition, and then also...
Yeah, like, to be honest, most of it is the nutrition side of it.
Okay.
Because I suppose the ideal person to join is like someone who's been dieting for years, but yet is not happy with their body, or has been training a lot and not happy with their body. And what we do is then like advertise them, educate them in nutrition, so that they're not confused anymore. Like, if anything, I just hate seeing people frustrated or stressed with things. You know, I don't really care if they change their body composition as long as they're happy in the end. Yeah. Now, what normally happens is that they learn how to change their body composition in a way that they don't have to change their life completely, which makes them happy, which means there's no stress, they remove the frustration, they understand what their body needs and how to fuel it, and then they're making, you know, their own informed decision. It's not being told what to eat or told what to do. It's like they have the knowledge and they make their own decisions, and then the consequences of decisions are easier to accept. So, you know, like I'll say, you know, for Christmas, it's like, well, you know exactly what will happen when you eat loads, and that's completely fine. It's removing guilt. It's removing these negative words they use on themselves for doing something as natural as eating. You know, just kind of, and it's identifying it and changing those thoughts. And that's a long process. Like, we have it as a 12-week process, and we want people at least to do that, because it's very hard to just change your thoughts immediately, or to learn to trust that you don't have to, you know, we have the majority of people eating more at the start than they were when they signed up. Okay. And that can be really jarring for someone who's like, no, I wanted to lose weight, or like, I really need to lose weight. And we're like, I know, we get that. We're just going to do it in a healthy way. And they can take a couple of weeks of them looking at the numbers. Then, you know, we check measurements, or they check their own measurements. And then they learn to trust. Then they're like, oh, okay, I can actually eat all this food and still be in a slight calorie deficit. And then they get to enjoy it. Or there'll be weeks where they'll have days, or I don't know, holidays or weddings, and they realize, you know, when we remove any guilt from it, there's no restriction, there's no compensating. They realize that it doesn't actually make that big of a difference at all. And then they learn to stop being angry at themselves for eating or drinking or whatever. Okay. And like, that's, I mean, even all of my clients starting, you know, I'm like, go enjoy Christmas. You know exactly what to do in January. You don't need to do anything drastic. And that's the joys of it. Like, January doesn't have to be bleak when you understand your body and you know what you need, how to fuel it properly. Yeah. And obviously the training, like, I do focus mostly on hypertrophy training, like building muscle. That's why I said training is for getting stronger and fitter. Because a lot of women, they don't have a focus on building muscle, especially if their goal is to lose weight. They're doing a lot of cardio. But I think in the long run, like especially as women get older, it's very important to be doing resistance training.
It's so important for their bone health and everything.
Yeah. So I'm really
and to move those big
that.
muscles, isn't it? Because, you know, you can run all the miles that you want to run or kilometers. But, you know, it's actually doing those squats and doing the lifting and that.
I mean, I look at myself now, I'm like, I can't wait to be old, but I know that I'll be, and even like bringing the yoga along with the resistance training and everything. And, you know, like I'm thinking of my older self, you know, like even my mom, she's still doing her little bit of weights every day and she kind of knows the importance of it. But also I think, you know, she did a lot of cardio when she was younger. She's doing Weight Watchers or I don't know if she ever did Weight Watchers, but, you know, dieting. And, you know, like as you get older, you become frail. Like all that cardio is great for your heart, but, you know, you want your body to be able to hold you when you're in your 90s or fingers crossed.
So did you grow up with your mum and your mum was always focused on health and fitness or...
She was always like my mom and dad, you know, ran a lot. They'd play tennis. They were always very active. I remember going to step aerobics, watching my mom do it.
I used to go to step aerobics with my mum as well. We used to go down to Squash Ireland Dartry. We used to go to. I'd go on a Wednesday or Thursday night or something. I used to love it.
Yeah, my mom did an ALSA in the airport.
Okay.
I was always dying to that. And like, so she was always fit and healthy and, you know, but then of course all the little things, you know, like always skimmed milk and small portions of food and which is, you know, just the messaging they were told, you know, it's like.
And do you think that messaging rubbed off on you, which is why that you had a kind of a focus on?
I wouldn't, I'm so sorry for Mom. Like I never would listen to it and she tells me, you know.
Okay.
I think the first diet I remember doing is like a cereal diet, which I think I just got from Special K ad. You know, like I just purely ate cereal.
Imagine that was allowed to be advertised as a healthy diet. Yeah. Isn't it crazy when you think about it now?
Yeah, I mean, great advertising Special K, really smart. Like, let's make up a diet where you just eat our food.
Unbelievable though, isn't it?
I know. It's mad when you look back at all the old advertising and everything. Like,
and how none of them work actually, which is what your message is. It's about actually when you restrict yourself, it doesn't really work.
I mean, the majority of women that come to me are eating too little and then eating too much, which puts them in a calorie surplus. And which means they're putting themselves through misery for like, say, 5 days a week where they're eating very, very little. And then they're eating a lot at the weekend and then beating themselves up about it, you know, blaming themselves for having no self-control or anything like that. But it's not. I'm like, you're hungry.
Yeah.
I'm like, so what I try and do is get my clients to go into the weekend not feeling hungry. And then you're making more rational decisions with your food. It's like, if you want the pizza, it's because you actually want it and not because your body is like, feed me, we haven't eaten all week. So that's the kind of, same with even just how you structure your food through the day. I'm like, I want 3 solid meals ideally, because if you're like saving your calories for the end of the day, you might be able to do that, but then you're eating all around you kind of uncontrollably because you're just not honoring your hunger levels. And that's kind of what I want people to do and making rational decisions and informed decisions.
But when you're talking about, you say that you like to be in a slight calorie deficit. Yeah. Does that eventually though plateau? As in, if you're consistently in a slight calorie deficit, you're not going to consistently lose weight all the time. Your body's going to get used to what you're eating and maintain a certain...
Technically, if a calorie deficit means you will be losing weight, but it's just the thing is what varies and why people think you plateau is your basal metabolic rate will change as your size changes. So like you actually will need less calories as you get smaller. And this is why I'm all for building muscle, because more muscle you have, it's only slight, but the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn day to day. So if you're just doing lots of cardio trying to lose weight, you will very quickly plateau. Or if you're eating very little food and losing weight, you know, like there's nowhere to go. So that's what I'm like, build muscle. Like I'm like, people can't believe it. I think people give out about me eating too much. And I'm like, no, but I'm still in a deficit because I have a lot of muscle and I train a lot. So we want to, the thing is people forget that when you're dieting, you're basically malnourishing your body. So you need to kind of, you know, balance health as well. So, you know, you can lose weight on whatever a low amount of calories, but why don't we have as much as we possibly can so that you can get all the vitamins and minerals in, you can get your protein, you have energy, you can sleep, you can enjoy your life. Well, slight calorie deficits that you're slowly making progress. And then it's not dramatic, it's sustainable, it's healthy.
Okay.
But the problem is, of course, everyone wants results now. And you know, I'm like, you'll have great results in like 6 months.
Okay.
Not easy to sell.
And then once someone has got to where they want to be, they don't need to continue to be in a calorie deficit. Is that correct? They can just continue to
I mean, it depends
eat.
on their goals. Like
Okay.
I switch it around. Like it depends on where I'm at. Like I find it very easy to be in a calorie deficit when I'm in a routine with training and I've got convenient, healthy food around me. But say I took a couple of months there. When I left Bali in April, I'd planned a couple of trips with friends. I went to see my sister in Portugal for a month, and I don't really enjoy myself in training over there. Like I just end up running, which I'm not as motivated to do as if I had Jiu Jitsu every day. So naturally, I just end up moving a little bit less. There's wine and cheese with everything, but I don't really I don't resist it though. Instead of going, I can't have that, or eating it and getting angry at myself, I'm just like, yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna put on some weight while I'm here, and
Okay.
I'll do that. And I did that for like 2 months, and I put on a good bit of weight. And the thing is, like, and I can see it, and other people can probably see it, but I'm like, so what? Like, so what? And because now, obviously, that's an unhealthy lifestyle. Like, I'm not going to continue having wine and cheese every day for the rest of my life, but it's kind of just practicing acceptance rather than resisting it.
Okay.
And then, yeah, when I got to London, I got back into my routine, like, weight fell off me. And, yeah, so I go through phases. And, you know, I might say to clients, you know, even in the summer, sometimes the summer is not a great time when there's loads of social occasions on to try to lose weight, but it doesn't mean you can't make great decisions. You can't look after your health anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you actually stop focusing so much on trying to lose weight, it actually becomes a little bit easier. You become more in tune with your hunger levels, and you know, there's less restriction, which means less overeating.
And is that a bit like intuitive eating, where you're...
Intuitive eating is like an official title with a proper definition. I actually don't know it, but off the top of my head. But I would say eating more intuitively is
better,
so you don't
for
get
you.
in trouble with saying intuitive eating, because
Okay.
that's like patented or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, that it's a framework for eating. It's really interesting actually, and I take some of those some of the framework, and before I knew about it, I was doing it anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, slowly moving on. Like we talk about, I mean, I have clients tracking calories, most people tracking calories, which some people might see as obsessive, or, but a lot of the time I find that people who become obsessed about it is because they're not eating enough. Like if you're not eating enough to fuel your body, obviously all you're going to think about is like when you're next going to eat, how many calories have you got, blah, blah, blah. So what I do is like, just so that people, again, it's so they can make informed decisions, and that they're not making any food rules where they're not cutting out any types of food. What was the question? I can't remember what line I was going with there.
I can't remember either. We kind of have gone off on several tangents. But would you say you yourself now are happy with your body and happy with food, and you don't have the kind of that push-pull that you had for years? Yeah.
Like I find I kind of sit in this, as I said, like when I'm in a routine, my body kind of sits in a normal, my normal. I feel like that's my normal when I'm in my normal routine.
Yeah.
And then there's times like, even now, like I haven't been tracking calories. I've been eating, you know, I've been having lots of chocolate and blah, blah, but I just don't really care. You know, like I'm like, yeah, I'm putting on weight, but that's okay, because I'll just lose it again in January or whatever. You know, like I'll just, but also realizing, I think it takes a lot of practice, you know, to kind of learn that like all body sizes are acceptable. You know, like it's perfectly fine to have some weight on you. Like no one's going to judge you. And if they are, you know, that's their own issue.
Yeah.
And like I say that a lot, especially around Christmas. You know, like I remember I used to not want to even go to the gym after Christmas because I'd feel like I have to wear like a baggy t-shirt and everything. And then I'm like, have I ever looked at anyone else in the gym after Christmas and thought like, oh, they've overdone it?
It's so funny, isn't it?
Like,
the way you think.
It's like, so like no one's thinking that about you, you know?
Yeah.
Even though you just feel, but the thing is that then I think you can use those feelings as a guidance. Like, so yeah, if you've been eating and drinking a lot, you're not going to feel good. And I kind of chase the feeling of feeling good now. So like say that time in Portugal, yeah, I had fun and I was going with it, but like I didn't feel good, like having wine every evening. So I would be like, okay, what will make me feel good? Like training and eating well. So kind of chasing that is a better way of, rather than chasing a size or, because I've been smaller and unhealthier and bigger and healthier. It's, you know, I'm trying to focus on health now.
Yeah, no, I think if you go with that message, it's great as well. And then what's the dating scene like in London? Or
Great. There's a lot more choice. A lot more choice. Too much choice.
Okay.
That's my problem. I'm also so busy as well. I just sit down on a Sunday and I'm like, oh, I must have a look now. And I start tapping away and then they message and I just don't reply until like the following week.
You're one of those, you cow.
Yeah. I know. I should put more effort in.
But it's like a totally different world to what I grew up with. And, you know, when I know what singles are now doing and what it's like online, because it is the only way to meet people now, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can meet people out and about, but I mean, that's the thing. You have to like go drinking, you have to get done up. I saw a good TikTok the other day where a girl was like, my friend in a relationship was like, oh, look at you going out. I wish I had the energy. And she's like, I do not have any energy. I am single. I am putting on my makeup to go stand in a bar because it is work. And then she was like, but if a guy comes and talks to me, I'm not going to speak to him. I was like, very relatable.
They're funny. I was actually talking to someone who, she says like she saw Tinder as her full-time job as well as her other job. So she'd go to her job.
It's too much work.
9 to 6, come home. And she said she'd do the Tinders. And what she used to do was she'd go for coffee in the morning with someone.
Oh, God.
And then go to work, and then she'd go out on 2 dates that night. Because she says she just had to you need to meet so many people.
It's a numbers game.
Essentially, you just need to meet all the people, and then you need to decide then the ones that you focus in on, because it's so, you can't just build yourself up for the date on a Friday night, because it could totally flop.
I did that the last time and I was catfish.
Oh no. And what's that like as well? So is there a lot of that goes on?
No, sorry, not catfish. They were just very old photos and I was like, he's not going to listen to this, is he? Well, I mean, it could be anyone.
It could be anyone. It could be one of the 10 dates.
No, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, it is. And I have friends that say that, you know, the numbers game. But my problem is, again, it's like, I hate going on a first date. So it's, you know, when it comes down to like, what do I want to do today? Not going on a first date. So I just... Okay. But then I know, like, I was seeing a guy for a while when I first moved to London. Like, it was the first date I went on and that was going well. But it was about like work, busy, and we just got left it. But yeah, I know. Put the work in. I will.
Yeah, I know.
I can't actually pretend I'm too busy now because I probably do have time, but it's like I have to wash my hair during the week.
It's funny, isn't it? Actually, the effort that needs to go into it as well. But it is like another job. And my friend who I was speaking with, who did it for a couple of years, but she finally found her prince. Actually, but she said, Jesus Christ, I had to kiss so many frogs. Yeah, do you know that kind of way? Yeah. But like, I thought it was the effort she put into it was like coffee in the morning and then 2 dates in the evening time. And she do it like maybe several times a week. But yeah, numbers game. That was.
So I do think London is good, like compared to Bali. I also think because in Bali I was going out for dinner every night with loads of friends. So it was like I was never going to just go. Actually, I'm just going to go off this randomer. Yeah. Instead, like I was really busy. So I think, I mean, I'm busy in London. I always have stuff on every weekend. So then I just keep going and all of a sudden.
It's the place to be though, isn't it? For, you know, if you want a really good social life as well, isn't it?
Yeah. There's so much going on all the time. Even the markets and everything. There's just a lot to do during the day as well that doesn't involve drinking.
Do you live in central London or outside?
I'm in Clapham, which apparently they call County Clapham because apparently that's where all the Irish are.
All the Irish are there.
Yeah. And I really like it. Like I'm just right on the park. So like even during the summer, just like sunbathing in the park. And I kept thinking, definitely wouldn't do this in Swords.
That's so funny though, isn't it? Because you see people sunbathing in Hyde Park, but you wouldn't really see that over here.
Yeah. No, the thing is, the only thing London is missing is the water. You know, like there's no sea. So, you know, on those hot days and all you want to do is go for a dip. Like there's some public pools and stuff, but there's none near me or I haven't gone to one. But yeah, so you're in the park just in your bikini and it's a bit strange. But
and is it true that in London, like I mean, in central London and kind of maybe like in and around the outskirts, it's great and there's like lots of, you know, life and living and money, but kind of you go a bit further out and there's an awful lot of poverty and there's an awful lot of people that...
Yeah, there's definitely... I'm starting to learn areas now. Like I mean, I don't know if when I ask someone where they live, I'm like, sorry, I don't know why I asked that because I don't know. Whatever you say, I don't know where it is. Like, is it near Clapham? I mean, it's just the one thing I noticed is the diversity in London. There's so many different cultures and they're like proper cultures within themselves in London. Like my friend, he's Turkish and it took me to visit his family in North London and like the street we were on, like all the Turkish restaurants and it's so I feel like it's very different to Dublin where it's got proper little pockets of different cultures.
Where we have a restaurant.
Another thing that hit me is just the wealth in London, like the money. It's And everywhere. You know the way there's a bit of that in Dublin. Like you might go to Howth Head and look at fancy houses, or
Yeah.
I don't know, Ballsbridge. But I just feel like there's so much of it in London. And I thought, yeah, it's different. Like I always even think about people my age in London. You know, they get a lot more inheritance and stuff maybe coming down. That's probably generalising, but you know, I look back at my grandparents in Ireland, and you know, they were fighting wars or whatever. Well,
yeah,
I don't know if that was accurate, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, I think there's a lot more money in London, which, you know, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more facilities, you know, everything is really convenient. Yeah, it's very different to Dublin, but I don't know, Dublin has a bit more character. I don't know.
I think certainly with friends of mine anyway that have lived there, they've probably come back to Dublin to settle down, because they said like over there to have a family and children and to raise them is extremely expensive unless,
I can imagine, you
know, that kind of way. So they would have moved back to do that. Whereas London's very much, you know, you can go and have loads of fun.
It's kind of like, it's all people my age now living in Clapham. Well, I say my age, I'm probably being very, from, you know, in their 20s.
Well, pretend you're 20, it's fine. You look it.
Thanks.
All that good living, Siobhan.
I mean, it's real kind of like cool cafes where people are like brunching and, you know, real independent. It's a lot of Australians in Clapham as well. So like I think it's a real kind of fast-paced young people life. Well, where I am, or just maybe that's the life I'm living. And I mean, obviously there are people with families and everything over there, but I think it is a lot for obviously the cost of living, you know, the cost of rent and stuff. I think naturally end up getting bigger houses further out. Yeah. So it's probably a different kind of vibe. Like I know some Irish girls out there, you know, they've got their family and they just live maybe, you know, 20 minutes more on the tube. Yeah. Because it's expensive.
Yeah, I know. So at every podcast, now I know we touched on the meaning of life earlier on the podcast with you, but I suppose to ask you directly what the meaning of life is. And then I also ask people, what advice would you give young people? So maybe start with that. And I don't know what the definition of young people should be. Maybe.
Me last week. Yeah. No, for young people, I think be kind to yourself and kind to others. I think that's probably, I think people who aren't kind to themselves aren't kind to others. And I think that's where a lot of conflict and everything comes about in the world. Like nobody has it figured out, you know, like no one knows what they're doing. So I think when you're just aware that everyone is doing their best, like even when people are like giving me shit, I'm like aware that there's a reason for that, you know, like, and just, I think for everyone's peace of mind, it's like, just be kind to others, be kind to yourself. Yeah, it's cliche, is it?
No, not at all. I think it's nice. It's interesting because I've had like a good few guests on now and they all say something different. Like no one has ever come up with the same thing. And then what is the meaning of life?
I mean, when I figure that out, I'll write a book. I'm still figuring it out. I don't know. I think, you know, I always say it was happiness, and then I feel so I had all the happiness. I have it all, the happiness. But I'm like, is that the meaning of life? Have I completed it? Like, and then like, I don't know, is it like having a family? I don't know. I think that's what makes life so interesting, is that everyone is trying to figure it out in their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I don't know what the meaning of life is anyway.
Yeah, even though I asked everyone. You're going to tell me. I'm sure you even figured it out by now if you're asking everyone.
Well, maybe I do, but no one's ever asked me. So, and I'd have to really get my thoughts in order to give it proper consideration, I think.
Yeah, you know, you can write a book on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Siobhan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thanks a million for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.